Hi everyone, in this video we're going to go over how to do undercarriage photography using Glover. Glover is a robot that you will install a track and then it goes under the car. It starts from the back or front, it goes to the other side, it does a capture. It takes about 2 minutes each car, and you can do this while you are doing the rest of the photography of the car. So the first step to find a location for the undercarriage photography is really a place. This is a very good example. It doesn't have to be indoor. It could be somewhere outdoor like this, where there's a sort of a cover space, because the cover space provides a consistent lighting. So not only to do the walk around and do the photos, it will give you consistent lighting, much better photography versus where you're doing it outdoor. So if somehow you guys can accommodate something like this, or use a shadow from your building or adjacent buildings to really create this sort of consistent lighting. Also, here we're in Arizona. If you're in a southern states or any country that you have a very hot or humid climate, it is important to have a space like this that is covered. It makes it easy for the staff. It also, again, provide consistency, and it also make it a lot easier for the equipment to work. So really the first thing is to find a spot. So for this auction, we selected this spot where we're gonna find the space between the two columns where we have most of the time the shadow, which is literally around this area. We installed a rail, and if we can camera have the back, if you can see the other side, this is how the assembly line for the photography will come in. So the cars will come to that spot, they get ready, and then they will come one at a time here where the walk around and the undercarriage photography happens, and then they will just exit this stage. So with that said, we are going to do the installation of the tracks. What you want to really consider, have guidelines for the team. The idea is the track to be somewhat in the middle under the cars as they will come in. So here in this scenario, we had these grooves that separates the concrete, and we decided to use them as the guidelines for the drivers as they're coming, and then we're going to install our track to be somewhere right in the middle so that it can use those side guidelines to drive in center and try to have the camera always on center. With that said, let's get to see the installation. So once you selected the spot where you want to do the photography, now is to figure out how the two tracks are going to sit on the floor. We're going to glue them. And this is the glue that you see here is a JB Weld, is the one that we're trying for this capture, and this is the glue we're trying for the installation. You will see the picture somewhere in the screen, and we are trying this to glue the surface. So we want to clean this up, broom it, clean it, if you need to wipe it, and make sure you have a clean surface so that the glue can do a good job and connect it. This is a good glue because it goes up to 550 Fahrenheit in heat, so it works in high heat climates like here in Arizona where we're doing our installation. So going back to the track installations, so we figure out the lines between the space between these two, our installation, the middle is 5 feet. If you look at the rover, so the rover is the distance between the basically wheels is exactly 4.5 inch. So tracks that we have are 1 inch exactly, and the idea is that this is going to sit right over the tracks to go ahead. So that means the back, if the centers are 4.5 inch, then that means the back to back is 5.5 inch. So the way the math would work, we'll show it on the side and the screen as well. So you're having 10 foot here. That means you have 5 feet to the center. And if you have 5.5 inch from back to back, divide that to 2, that's 2 3/4, 2 inches and 3/4. And if you minus that from the 5 feet to find the back edge, that is going to become 4 feet, 9 1/4 inches. 4 feet, 9 1/4 inches. And then from there, so that's our first line, and then we'll have our second line that is going to be 5.5 inch apart, and that gives us the rail all the way in. The way we will work that out, we mark it the first one, and then we will go, because the length of each track is about 4 feet. So you want to do it every, let's say, 3.5 feet. So every 3.5 feet to 4 feet, you want to mark that distance from your guidance line. And if you don't have a guidance line, you could actually you can determine the distance, have and draw the center line, and then do the same sort of similar math to figure out, you go like half of that 5.5 inch to the left, half of that to the right, and then that will give you the edge of your installation. So with that said, let's do the work. Okay, so as you see what we did, we said on the start point is going to be 4 feet and then 9.25. So that's where we marked it. We just use a permanent marker on the floor. And then 5.5 inches later is 5 feet and 2.75. So if you sort of see the distance, it is going to be exactly 5.5 inches back to back. That means one track is going to be here, one track is going to be here, and then the distance between them is going to be exactly 4.5 inches. This is really like a simple math. Obviously, when I say 4 feet is because of this, because we had 10-foot markers. You might have something different, but I think you get the idea. You want to find the center, go, basically you have 5.5 inches. So the center of that 5.5 inch is your center line, whatever that is, and then you do the math and then you sort of continue marking it. If you notice in the video, we've been marking them every couple of feet, every 3 to 3 feet, and then we're going to draw a straight line. We're going to clean the floor, and then we just glue the items and we're done. Thanks. Okay, what we use really for cleaning, you could use really anything. The idea is to clean it up. You could even use water, but we use an all-purpose cleaner with bleach just to sort of take care of as much as we can. As you can see, you can sort of see the lines that we cleaned up. Now we're going to use this one of the tracks and use it as a sort of a ruler to create 2 lines so that we could apply the adhesive nicer and cleaner than trying to just guess where the line goes. So let's do that. Okay, so now that we're done with the line, as you can see, we created a line. The whole thing is about 20 feet. They're 5.5 inches apart. And the way we will do the installation now is that we're gonna glue it, as I mentioned. So this glue, it has 2 parts that you have to actually mix them together and then apply it. So you have 2 ways. One, you could just use a simple plastic like a Ziploc, mix them together, and then basically add them, which is what we chose to do. Or you could really use a syringe to mix them, put it in a syringe, apply it. You might be able to find the same brand or similar blends that come already in a syringe, so it automatically applies it, or really any other solution. The goal is to find an adhesive that, based on your climate, it will accommodate either extreme cold, extreme heat, or both in some cases. And with that said, let's get started. So as you can see, this is the sort of a consistency you want to have, about 1/2 inch from the edge, because the whole track is 1 inch. So you want to apply this somewhere in the middle. So that's the Ziploc. We mixed it nicely so you get a consistent coloring. And then with that 1/2 inch distance, which means the glue is going to be somewhere in the middle, you sort of continue applying the glue if that's the method you're choosing. Okay, so once we're done with the placements, the glue, the adhesive, and the tracks, as you can see, we apply some semi-heavy item. It could be a cement block. This is what we would found here, and we put them on. And this is going to help the joints to line up to be like a straight. The more straight and flat they are, the better it is. Plus, you want to make sure the adhesive doesn't ooze out from the connection point. So you sort of want to clean it up. We just finished this about a minute ago, and we're going to look at it again in probably 15 minutes to see if there is any excessive adhesive or glues oozing out. We sort of flatten out. Most of these sort of a stronger adhesive, they become like a cement once they dry. So it is important to really clean them up, make sure they're straight, to avoid any bumps as the rover goes through the track. The goal is to try to make the track as clean as possible during the installation and later on when you're using it as a daily process. So now that we have finished the installation, we're going to go over how it looks. It's the next day, so almost 24 hours passed, and we are going to look at this. So we sort of have the 2 rails installed all the way from one side to the other, and as I can see, we put the rover on here. So sometimes when you install the rails, there might be issues with the alignments of the rails or the tracks, and the way you will be able to fix them. This is an example. As you can see, they are not aligned, and the way you can fix it, one is that there could be tapes that can line them up, so when they dry, they're lined up, and that you could also use some sort of sand like this, something that can sort of sand off if they're off. The rails are from aluminum, so it would be easy to make them straight and fix the issue. So you just want to basically just sand them on the side, and that will make them nice and smooth, so that as the rover goes both directions, you want to make sure that is a smooth movement. But if you use some sort of a tape like this one you see on the screen, you will be able to have that line up when you're drawing, which is what we would recommend. So as you see here, we're trying to see where the line is. So obviously you can see the line in that spot, and the idea is to have that on center. So what I figured out from doing different tests, so if you have the middle of your steering wheel, and then you have, let's say, the middle of this, the 1/3 would be somewhat, that line would be sort of 1/3 of this distance, and that would give you almost in the middle, and it doesn't matter as you can go higher or low. So about 1/3 of from here to here, that would be the area that if you try to accommodate it, it will keep the car in center. And then as you go in, you want the end, so let's say if that's the end, to line up with somewhere where your mirror is. And that gives you enough to really accommodate. So with that said, we're gonna actually start going forward. And by going forward, so what we're gonna do, I'll just follow the same instructions, and I sort of have that line, as you can see, that concrete line, and whenever that line meets here, like almost where my mirror is, the concrete line that was the end of the rail or the track, that's when we're going to stop. So now let's go see what happened from outside with this sort of guideline. But again, as you do more photography, you guys will figure out so that's the concrete line that we use. And as you can see here, we have a good amount of space at the front, so I could even go a little bit further back. And as you can see, we have almost a lot of space at the back as well. So the way we set up the track is that so that if you're a little bit off, you still have definitely a lot of room. And so this is not 100% on center, but it's fine. Again, the goal is to try to get us as much center as you can, but it doesn't have to be exactly on center. With that said, let's go to the next step. So once we install the rails, now it's time to set up the Glover system. Glover system has a few components. The first one is the rover that has a lighting system, a battery, as well as a camera. We have a dedicated video that goes in details about the components, what each part does. The second thing is a controller. The controller is a component that connects the robot or the Glover to a capture device, which is an Android phone, as you see here. Here we have a tripod, as well as we have a couple of weights in, because it will be outdoor, and we want to make sure the wind doesn't make it fall. You now place this in the starting position. So every morning when you want to start the photography, the first step is to reset this. So by resetting, what we mean, if you can get closer, is that there is a on and off button. So you turn it off, you turn it on, that's it. So now your rover is reset. Then you also want to turn off your 360 camera, and you want to turn it on. That's it, you turn it off, you turn it on, and this is now reset and ready for the day's work. You just place it here. You also want to make sure that your battery is on, so it is constantly charging everything. And if you want to have the lighting, which we do highly recommend, you want to turn that on from this side. So I made sure the camera is on, the battery is on, the rover is on, and the battery is on. All 4 components, 1, 2, 3, 4. They all needs to be in an on position. They all need to be reset on and off. And now I placed it in. So the way you place it in, if you look at the start position sticker we have, this is the point. Now we put this in place, we go back to the phone. So in here, once we set the start capture, because we did all of this, the reset, we put the stock number and we say a start capture. So now it is searching for the Glover with the serial number. The serial number for this specific setup is T1367. The T1367 is the serial number for this, serial number for the controller, and serial number for the Glover, because it connects them together. Now it is connected. Now it's trying to connect to the X3, which is the camera, as you can see, and now it is starting the capture, as you can see on the screen. So once it started the capture, it's going to order the controller orders the Glover, and the Glover starts doing the capture, as you can see here. Now we're going to speed it up, and we're going to see you guys on the other side. So one more thing that I would, while we're getting that capture, is that, so while I start the capture process with that, it takes about 2 minutes to get to the other side, and it's going to automatically stop. So I can use this process in this time to do the actual spin, the exterior photos. So really what is nice about this system is that the undercarriage photography does not take any extra time from your team for the photography process. So they start with that, the rover goes undercarriage, and does the photography. Meanwhile, they are actually spinning, walking around the car, doing the photos of individual parts, which takes about 3.5 minutes. We do have a separate video. We put the link somewhere here or in the comments and description where you guys can look at that complete photography 360 photo in 3.5 minutes. And once that whole process is done, undercarriage, exterior photos, we automatically generate a video tour and we automatically sync it to your inventory management, website, and social media. So let's go see where we are with the undercarriage photo. So as you can see in the screen recording now, as it gets to the end of the mobile app shows the process, that how it is going, and once it gets to the end of the car, it will automatically stop. So let's look at that. So now as you can see, it automatically stopped. So now the photography of this exterior will also be finished soon and nothing needs to be done to the rover. So the photography is done, the car gets moved, the next car comes in parked, and at this point, you don't need to take that and bring it to the beginning. So all you need to go, as you can see here, you have 3 options. If for whatever reason the process wasn't complete, you could reset. When you reset, means what we talked earlier, you just need to turn on and off the camera and turn on and off the rover and bring it back to the starting point. And that's it, that's what reset is. But if everything went well, like this time, for the next car, you just say start new capture, you add the stock number and you say start capture. So what it does, now it's going to trigger it and start scanning from the front of the car to the back, as you can see there. And then it goes all the way to the back, and then you can continue the same process of capturing the 360 spin as well as the interior photos. And once that is done, you just go to the next car. So as you can see, we did this process in a way that you do not need to have a dedicated time for undercarriage photography, and the entire photography, videography, 360 spin, video tours, everything only takes about 3.5 minutes from your photography time. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.